What is up, everyone? Glad to see there's so many people waiting for us here. I see some familiar names in there. Brian, good to see you as always. And yeah, so this is the first ever BF film session live that we're gonna do. It's something that we're trying out, and we're pretty much just workshopping this. This is something that I wanted to start doing here, so that way, when I'm watching film, we can all kind of talk about it together, and then really see what's going on, kind of behind the scenes, and when you take your eye off the ball a little bit. So I've got here with me Cash Out BF Casey Reed. And he's gonna be hanging out with me a little bit, and we've been watching film together this off season here. So yeah, I'm pretty excited, man.
Oh, dude, I'm pumped. I'm currently sitting in my daughter's room right now, so I've got unicorns around me, and all kinds of stuff. So I'm excited. Let's talk about some film, man.
Yeah, yeah. So sorry, I just cut you off there. My headset started to malfunction, so my apologies for that. But yeah, so we're talking about three different guys. The three guys that were pictured up on that opening screen there. We're going to talk some Mitch Trubisky, Emmanuel Sanders, and then some Dane Jackson as well. So all three of those guys I think are kind of interesting. And obviously the last two that we just got just recently signed as free agents. So I think that people are kind of wondering about that a little bit and how those guys are going to fit into the scheme. So
For sure.
as far as Mitch Trubisky goes, he really is a good scheme fit for kind of what Dable likes to do. And physically, he's very similar to Josh Allen as well. So I think that was a pretty good pickup, in my opinion. How do you feel about just kind of in general about getting Trubisky?
I thought it was a steal, especially for the money. I remember talking with a couple of guys from BF talking about who do you want as a backup? Who are you going to get? And in my eyes, he wasn't even there to grab, because I was thinking his price tag was going to be so high. But we got him for about 2.5. Could be a little bit lower than that, but we got him around 2.5. And I want to know, why did they target him out of all the free agent quarterbacks? What makes him special, and how does he fit in the scheme? And is he an upgrade from Barkley? That's the
Right.
big thing. Is he an upgrade? Did we upgrade that position? And if we did, why?
Right. And I think he is an upgrade, in my opinion. I think just kind of from a raw talent perspective. I mean, when you get drafted that early, clearly you've got at least some amount of talent. And him being such an early draft pick, he's got a lot of the intangibles. He's big, he's strong, he can drive the ball downfield. And there's just a few things that, if he's able to correct just a few things like consistency with his footwork and, his decision making on some plays and not locking onto guys, I think he'll be pretty good. And we'll see a little bit of that in the film, kind of examples of each one of those things that he's done. But yeah, and then moving on to Emmanuel Sanders. What was your first reaction? Because I know a lot of us were shocked for Emmanuel Sanders too. What was your first reaction when you saw that he was signed?
That's a good question, because I was just like, okay, I was very in the middle about it. And it's the same that I have with Trubisky. Why Sanders? Obviously, being in company, they wanted Sanders. They've wanted him for a long time. They saw him and they wanted to go after him. To go after him, what they have to do? Well, they had to release John Brown. Now, how does he fit in our scheme? Right? He's a little bit different than John Brown. He's not, a burner down the sideline. So, what are we getting from Emmanuel Sanders that makes him good enough to grab?
Yeah, and I think Sanders is to an extent he is somewhat similar to John Brown as a player. He can play in the slot, he can play outside. He's done both of those things at a high level. And it's I think really as far as athletically, it is an upgrade over John Brown, and we're paying less money for him overall than we would have been paying John Brown. I mean, sure, we could have maybe restructured and got him a discount, but I
Yeah.
think I think Emmanuel Sanders, just athletically speaking, yeah, is and Rick nailed it down here. Yeah, he's a better route runner overall. He really is. The way that he can get in and out of his cuts, the way he can get a guy off balance right from the snap is just really impressive. So I think that that's something that they're going to be able to utilize. And now there's so many weapons as well that Dable has to use. It's just one more weapon that he's able to use creatively. So I think that that's going to be something that'll be interesting to see down the line here. And once we start to get into action a little bit and see how they use him. But and then there's one more guy that we're going to talk about today, and he's not a draft
Ooh.
pick. He's not a new guy. But I am a big fan of this guy, and there's a lot of kind of talk
Back and
around
forth.
him. Yeah, and I think it's interesting to see because the Bills didn't really make any big moves to go out and get one of these big name free agent corners. And there was a
Yep.
lot of talent in free agency at the corner position in this offseason. So I think it's kind of interesting that they said, we're just going to re-sign Levi Wallace. And then that's all that we're going to do as far as veteran talent goes for the cornerback position. How do you feel about kind of the Levi Wallace versus Dane Jackson conversation? And do you think that Dane Jackson can kind of make a name for himself this season?
I think you nailed it in one of our film sessions a while back. It was Levi Wallace is not as explosive as Trey is, right? And that's why you kind of see him, having to get to the ball quicker and stuff like that. So I'm curious to dive into Dane Jackson's film and see how he, stands up to Levi Wallace. And is he going to be able to take over that cornerback 2 position, or are they going to draft some more competition in there? Are they going to draft it at 30? What are they going to do at 30?
Yeah, and I think that's interesting too, because the way that Bean has kind of handled this offseason, he kind of put themselves into a position where he can really take anyone. They don't have any glaring holes in any position at this point. So I think, and that's the way Brandon Bean likes it, because he's a best available
Yep.
type of a drafter. So I think that's how it's going to be. If their guy falls, maybe there's an early mid first round guy that they're going to keep an eye on and say, well, if he gets past this draft pick, we're going to trade up and get him. I wouldn't be surprised to see that at all. That's just kind of the way that I think Bean likes to do things. But let's go ahead and get right into some film here, and then talk a little bit about our first guy. And that guy, as I set things up here, is going to be Mitch Trubisky.
Oh, I'm excited about this one. I am.
Yeah, and Mitch. So a lot of people, Mitch Trubisky gets a lot of hate, I think, and I don't think it's warranted necessarily. He has a winning record as a starting quarterback, and he had a winning record last year. His stats never look terrible. He's always able to get a decent amount of yards, and his completion percentage has always been fairly high. Excuse me, but there's just kind of a few things that he doesn't do consistently. So we're gonna look at some of the stuff. First of all, that he's done well, because there are a lot of things that he does well and that he's going to do well that would make him fit in this offense. So let's go ahead and take a look. And bear with me here, because I'm new on these controls and I'm controlling the film as we go. But this is a play where, honestly, it's just a great pass. It's a rollout to the right. He sees his guy downfield here coming toward the outside. This is a play that we've seen Josh Allen run probably, a dozen times at this point. It's just a simple rollout and hit your deep out route, and he hits him right on the money, right over near the sideline. It's a great catch by Mooney. This is something that is probably going to be like a day one install for the Bills. Really, it's just that bootleg action play. And that's something that he can run. So that it's good to know that he at least will be able to do simple things like that. This play here is just kind of a show of his throw power and the way he's able to kind of zing that ball in there. And it's a fairly simple read. He's locked on his guy the whole time, and his footwork is good here. We're going to talk about footwork a little bit more later, but you can see here his footwork. He's got a low base, and he's straight up. It's kind of hard to see it really, but let's see if we can get it right as he releases. Right there, you can see there's a pretty straight line all the way up from his foot into his shoulders. And when your feet are nice and close like that, your base isn't too wide, you can get a decent amount of power through that front leg into your hips, into your shoulders, and out through your arm. And he does a really good job here. The ball's pretty much right on the money, gets his guy over the middle, and it's a big pickup. That, something like that, driving the ball downfield, we know Allen can do that well. And I think that's kind of something that the Bills were missing in the quarterback room behind Allen before that. So I think that's something that it's good that they were able to add. Excuse me while I take a drink here. Anything? What do you think about those two plays? Anything from those two plays that you think kind of stands out?
I was gonna ask, how do you think that he compares to Allen? Because we saw, I think CBS tweeted it out that they had very similar stats. So how does he compare with Allen? You were doing a good job as far as driving down the field and all that other stuff. But is there anything else that you're seeing it? Because the Bills don't want to change their offense. If Trubisky has to go in, they want to have similar cohesiveness to the offense.
Right. And so I think the biggest difference really is consistency, because if you look at the stats from each guy's first 2 years, it's super similar. Allen's stats and Trubisky's stats, they're very similar. And if you go watch the film, you're probably going to see a lot of the same stuff, because Allen's footwork used to be all over the place, and he really wasn't consistent with that at all. And you can see that even still in Trubisky's film. I think if Trubisky and Allen work together a little bit, if he maybe brings him to a training with Jordan Palmer, and Ken Dorsey works on him a little bit, I think he'll be able to clean up that footwork a little bit, because I really do think that that's kind of what sends the ball crazy sometimes. And he makes bad decisions sometimes. We're going to see a couple of those later, but Allen makes those too. Even still, every quarterback's going to make a bad read or lock onto his target and try to force it. Everyone's going to do that still. And I think really just the biggest difference is consistency in the footwork. So yeah.
People tend to forget that Trubisky was one and done in college. He was a 1-year starter. He ballooned up in that North Carolina offense, and they took him number 2 overall. So, I mean, the dude is very, I would say, rusty. He came into the league rusty. And we can say the same, about Josh Allen as well. So,
yeah. And because Allen really, he was competing at a lower level. I mean, Trubisky was in the ACC, so it's not the highest level of football.
Correct. Yeah.
Which is, also, it's certainly higher than, I don't even know what
Mountain West.
Wyoming. Yeah, Mountain West. It's definitely a higher level of competition than that. But yeah, I think, they both were unpolished, raw prospects coming out of college. There was a lot of good physical attributes that they liked there and leadership ability. And it was just whether or not they could put it all together.
If the viewers at home, if y'all see anything, y'all are curious about anything, go ahead and put it in the comments, and I'll go ahead and highlight it and get Clay to answer that for you.
Yeah, if you're seeing anything, if I'm saying anything that you're like, why is he saying this? What's
right on cue. Right on cue. Scott coming in and saying, why is it Chicago didn't work in Trubisky's footwork, etc.? It's odd, right?
It could have been something that they were working on, and maybe it's just he hasn't been able to fully grasp it. And I was a quarterback my whole life, and yes, I mean, I didn't play for that long, but yeah, and for me that was an issue of mine, where it was the overstriding and inconsistent footwork is really hard to fix, and I think the way Allen was so successful with it is because he completely changed what was going on from the waist down for the most part, and he incorporated that little front leg foot hop, which kind of gave him the ability to really excel and kind of change up completely there. So. But yeah, thank you for that question, Scott.
The foot hop.
Yes,
sexy.
Foot hop. It's dangerous. It's lethal. But let's look at some of the other stuff that Trubisky's good at. This is going to be an RPO, and it's right on the goal line here. So this is something that the Bills have run before, and it's even kind of similar what Trubisky does. It looks like it could be Josh Allen, honestly. And so first of all, I'm going to slow it down when I play it here. It's a really good play by this outside backer over here. I'm going to go back so we can see that again. I went too far, but that's okay. But yeah, so it's a really good play by this outside backer here. He's not going to be blocked, and that's part of the scheme in an RPO. So he's not going to be blocked, and then the quarterback has to read if he's going for the running back or if he's coming for me. If he's going for you, you got to give it to the running back. If he's going for the running back, you pull the ball, and then you're looking for your first read. So on this play, he comes in, and it's a really good. It's a really good play by him. He pretty much he almost disturbs the play to a really good extent, and we'll see another angle of it. But it looks like he's going for the running back, and then he sits right in that gap, and Trubisky's got a little worried there. But he's able to find Robinson. He knows right where that guy vacated from, so he knows that that's where the linebacker was. So if he's in my face, where's the guy that's right where that spot was? And he just hits him for the touchdown, and it's a pretty simple play. That's kind of the fastest that you'll see in RPO, where everything's just happening so quick. And then here we'll see from this angle too, he's coming downhill, and it's hard to tell if he's going for that running back or going for you, but he kind of takes a little jab step and comes outside to Trubisky there, but he does a good job under pressure to get the ball out and still get it accurately to Robinson in the end zone. And then we get a really good angle of it here of him. You can really see how he was coming downhill toward the running back there, and then he juts back out. But yeah, I mean, it's easy. It's nice when you have a guy like Robinson who can find the gap like that and sit there. And then, yeah, just a nice, easy pitch and catch for a touchdown here.
Nice little sidearm throw.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, an athletic play. That's what the Bills need, really. So this play is this is another type of Josh Allen thing that you'll see from time to time, and it's just a good scramble. He gets out of the pocket when it's starting to collapse on him, and yeah, he escapes, gets up, makes the guy miss, and he gets the first down. That's something that we've seen Allen do many times before. So it's nice to see that, when he's in trouble, he's not Matt Barkley, and it isn't just going to take a sack when he's in trouble there.
I got a question. Going back to that, are you worried at all because he's drifting backwards? Are you
Mhm.
worried about that? Because that's something that immediately caught my eyes, that he's drifting backwards. He's not stepping up into the pocket.
Yeah, and he drifts back initially, but let's see what's going on first. So he's got pressure coming
He's
in
getting
right.
pushed back.
Yeah, so the outside man comes inside, and in a situation like that, he's got nowhere to step up now, so he kind of drifts back and away. But then as soon as he realizes that he's got this nice opening in the pocket, he kind of steps up, and really, even if he wanted to throw, covered,
Yeah.
and covered, he's got nowhere to throw, and so it's a good decision at this point too. His eyes are still downfield, but he just says, you know what, I'm just going to run this one, and makes a cut to the outside, and it's a pretty good athletic play. And then now I think we're starting to get into the bad stuff here, if I
Oh,
remember correctly. Yeah, this one isn't this play isn't terrible. I'm not going to harp on him too bad, but the one thing is what we talked about earlier: the inconsistency in the footwork, right there. So remember how the last time we got him frozen on a throw, that leg was below him, and it was a much more straight line from the foot into the hip into the shoulder. Now he's got his leg forward too much. He's overstriding here, and that causes you're losing a lot of power through that leg, and now he has to make up for all that power with his hips and with his shoulders and with his arm, and that can cause more inaccuracies because you're trying to overcompensate for something. I see Pierre talking about the front foot hop there earlier. That was something that he pointed out, so thank you to Pierre for that. But yeah, so this is something where it takes away power from there. It takes away from yourself as a rotational passer, because that rotation is now different when you don't have that power coming out of that front foot at a consistent level. It still comes out with a decent amount of velocity. It's just an inaccurate pass, and that's probably because he's trying to overcompensate with his upper body. Maybe there's a little bit of a miscommunication. I mean, you can kind of see his receiver stops a little bit further inside and has to cut back. So it's hard to say, was it a miscommunication? Was it an inaccurate throw? But really, when you have inaccurate or inconsistent footwork like that, it can kind of lead to bad things, really. And now we're really getting into it here on some of the stuff that he's missing, and we're going to talk even more on the inconsistency of the footwork here. And the thing we're really going to look at is him throwing to the left, because his foot is almost in a different spot every time he rolls out and drops there, and when he plants that front foot, he swings out to the outside. Yeah, and Mitch being available, yeah. Do you want to touch on that a little bit?
I mean, that's just absolutely insane. I think it shocked a lot of Bills Mafia when it came up, because I was thinking, any of the San Francisco backups, Nick Mullins, Beathard, anybody like that. I did not expect to get Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah, and the fact that we got him for so cheap is
that was a steal.
so
I mean, it had to be a steal.
Yeah. But anyway, let's look at him throwing to the left. So watch his front foot. I'm going to see if I can slow it down without it lagging on me. But look how far out his foot is there. It's way too far away, and the throw is going to go where your foot's pointed. And right now, his legs are almost parallel. His foot needs to be forward just a little more, pointed at the target, because right now he's basically just kind of like throwing a fadeaway shot. And that's not what he usually does. It's hard to tell even what he usually does throwing to the left, because that front foot is in a different spot so much. But then from here, he takes that back leg and he kind of swings it around. And the throw is not terrible. It's catchable, but it is a little bit to the outside. And, he did have pressure in his face, so he couldn't step up as far as he wanted to. So we'll give him a little bit of a break there. But you can see here as he kind of swings open, and then it's not a bad pass. It's just there's a little lack of velocity, and we can say that there's pressure in his face and kind of give him a pass for that. But then here, another throw to the left, better footwork this time, where he's not quite as flat. I guess I was wrong. It looked better initially, but he's still pretty flat here, and really his foot should be more pointed toward his target, whereas it's not bad now, but he's almost stepping to the side instead of stepping forward into the throw. And that's just going to make the throw keep going out toward the sideline. And that's what happens here, where this one is even further away. And his wide receiver has to make an athletic play to go get it.
Do you think he's rushing to move over to the left right there?
He could be, honestly. And I think,
and that kind of speeds up why his footwork is terrible.
Right. And the thing is too, is he's already kind of shuffling that direction. So I think because his momentum was that way, he's just like, oh, I just take another step and then I can throw right into the ball. And, it is a catchable ball. He ended up making the play, but yeah, it's kind of hard to say. There's a lot of factors that go into it, but really when it comes time to throw, you want to be able to get your foot pointed in the right direction. And then everything starts from the foot, goes from the foot up the leg into the hips, into the shoulders. Yeah.
I love this comment right here from John. Do you notice that they are bringing up footwork issues that Josh used to have?
Yeah.
Do you see the coaching staff and Brandon Beane being like, you know what? Josh had these similar issues, right? We can bring Mitch in here and we can actually fix him as well.
Right.
And that was their pitch to him. Like, hey, Josh had the similar issues that you had or have right now. We can take you, we can make you better, right? Give you a 1-year deal. You hit the market again next year. And that's essentially what Brandon Beane said in his press conference.
Yeah, and I think that it makes a lot of sense. And a lot of quarterbacks have the issue, especially with throwing to the left on foot placement. That's something that Joe Flacco was a guy who struggled with that for a long time as well. But yeah, I think it is kind of interesting that not only is he physically very similar to Josh Allen, but maybe if you put Mitch Trubisky in a situation where he's drafted in a situation like Allen's, where the skill position guys that he was playing with weren't great at the time, but when the way Beane built the team around him and Dable was brought in and he was hanging out with Jordan Palmer, if those things had happened to Trubisky, he could be where Josh Allen is right now, and we just don't know because he hasn't had the opportunity or the exposure to those kinds of things.
Scott comes in and he says, is the end game fix him and gain a pick from another team? This is interesting because this is essentially what the Patriots have done for 50 years, it seems like. They'll draft a backup quarterback. They'll showcase him in the preseason. All of a sudden, they'll flip him for a couple of picks, blah, blah, blah. I would say yes, but I would be a low yes on this because I think they honestly really did want a good backup quarterback. And I don't think that you're going to fix everything that's wrong with Mitchell, Trubisky within 2-3 months of having him as a backup, because you're going to get preseason. That's really going to showcase what he's done, how he's fixed it, and stuff like that. But I don't know if they're going to have enough time to actually get a pick from another team. Now, I will say this: I don't think Brandon Beane, in the back of his mind, is like, oh, I don't want anything from him. Like, I don't think that's Beane's way. I mean, he flipped Lee Smith for a conditional 7th rounder to Atlanta. So I think he's always thinking, how can I make this team better? And if Mitch gets better and he can make this team better, then guess what? He's probably going to flip him for a draft pick.
Right. And the thing is, too, is Mitch is a talent upgrade over anyone else, behind Josh in that QB room. So when you bring a guy on like that, when you're in your Super Bowl window with such a great roster around you and so many guys that can catch the ball and run good routes and get open, if you have a backup that's talented, or that has enough talent at least, and we've seen that he can win games with the right team around him. He's got a winning record as a quarterback. So I think that's something where the number one priority is improve the backup position, because if Josh gets hurt, they're going to need someone in there that can at least, hold the team together until he gets back. So I think Mitch Trubisky is a good guy to do that, honestly. But let's take a look. I think we got one more play here where he's thrown out to the left. And this one is another one where I think this is the one where he overstrides the most. He really is. That step is completely toward the sideline that he's doing right there. He's not even really stepping toward where he's throwing. He's stepping basically toward the sideline. Like, that front foot right now is pointing at the ref. So, and you can see it where the throw location is. That thing really whips around and nobody's there. There's 2 guys in the area and it's not close to either of them. And that's just because he's swinging open like a gate. And that's just not a good way to, get an accurate pass at a consistent level there. And then I think this is the first interception from this game. And this one really is it's not a great decision. He kind of just lofts it up and throws a jump ball, but the guy is not open. I can't remember if this is Mooney here that he's thrown to or not, but we'll take a look and see what's going on. Right here is when he pretty much decides to throw the ball, and I'm not sure why. I mean, his back is facing us, so he's got to do a turn over his downfield shoulder, but he's pretty much right on line with him. He's pretty covered up. And then we'll see from another angle that since both of these guys are got their backs facing to them, there's going to be a guy open underneath, I think. instead. And, he's not super open, but he's definitely more open than this guy who's now double covered. And then, it ends up being an interception. He's also got his check down. I mean, I think he just kind of locked on at the receiver here and said, yeah, I'm just going to throw that. And it doesn't go well for him. The DB does make a good play here. Oh my God, Jeff King.
Jeff coming in saying, guys, can't stick around, but want to show some love for the new show. Appreciate all the hard work. Be well, folks. Go Bills. Well, go Jeff. Bills right back at you, Jeff. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate that in the first show. Thank you so much, man. Hopefully we have more of these later and you can stick around a little longer next time. But thank you so much, man.
While we do have a break before we get back into Mitch, we do have 97 people watching the show right now. Go ahead and smash that like button. Go ahead and like it. That's all I got.
Yeah, and if you weren't here earlier, if there's anything I'm saying that you don't know why I'm saying it, or you see something on the film that you have a question about yourself, go ahead and type it into the chat, and we'll answer your questions. That's kind of the beauty of doing this live, is that we can answer questions if there's something I'm not touching on or Casey's not seeing. If you guys are seeing something, bring it up, and that's something that we want to be able to do, is kind of interact with everybody and really talk about it together.
Jeff is a real one.
Yes. Thank you so much, Jeff. And then anyway, getting back to film here, we're looking at the interception here from the other angle. I mean, we kind of see it here. It's not a bad throw. The footwork on the throw isn't terrible. He's pretty straight line.
Boy, he was happy with that throw. Did you see his body language? He was like, "I'm about to just sling
it is
this
pretty
thing."
Good. I mean, you can see right there. The energy you can see coming up through the foot. He kind of jumps into the throw a little bit. It's a good throw. I mean, he gets it, I think, pretty much to the spot where he wanted. It just wasn't a great decision on the throw there. And it's more of the same on this play as well. And this one, the underneath route is even more open, which is going to be really frustrating. I'm sure when he was watching this on film, he was kicking himself because he's throwing it into triple coverage. I mean, right here, this is when he decides to throw the ball. He is so locked onto this guy. He's already double covered, and there's a safety over top to help as well. And he still decides to throw it there. And that's just a really bad move. Any one of those three guys could have probably picked the ball off, because you got your guy triangulated in defense there. And then the frustrating thing is, as you can see right here, that guy's back is facing the quarterback. His back is facing the quarterback. And you've got an in route coming right over the middle, who's going to be wide open if you just waited a second and tried to hit him instead over the middle of the field. And you can see it a little better here, I think, as well. Of kind of, I guess not, we don't see him on the screen, but.
So you don't really watch his eyes. If you go back, you don't really see him going through his progressions. It's like he immediately, as soon as the play started, he said, "I'm going to hit this long crosser. Like, that's what I'm going to do." He didn't go through his progressions. Right. He didn't do anything like that.
Yeah. And that was kind of one of the things where it's locking onto your receiver. That's what he did for the first interception, and that's what he did here too. He just didn't look at anything else. Straight from the snap, we'll just watch his eyes. He's locked on. Yeah, I'm going to throw that. That's a good idea.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's just, and that's kind of the decision-making thing where you really just need to get better and realize that, if we go back here, we can see that that underneath route. Allen Robinson is going to be wide open. Right, if he throws the ball right here on a line, that's a gain of what? 10 yards, 12 yards there. And I think it's third down or second. Yeah, it's third down on this play as well. That gets you a first down on third down. And instead you're trying to force it an extra 10, 20 yards downfield to get a big play when your guy's triple covered.
Who does that remind you of? You're trying to play hero ball.
Oh, yeah.
3rd and 10.
Yeah, hero ball. I mean, we've seen Josh Allen play some hero ball sometime, and he kind of, his decision making, down and distance. It's third and 11, 3rd and 12. It looks like here we can see the marker down here, third down, and then they're just behind the original sticks. So, so it's around 3rd and 11 here, and his underneath guy's wide open. And he really, as he's locked onto these two guys, he should be noticing that both of the guys that are on him, their backs are facing him. They don't know where he's going to throw the ball. They're not going to have time to turn around and play the ball if he throws it to this underneath route here. Really, that's something that he should have recognized when he was staring that guy down, but instead he just pulled the trigger. So, so I think that is the conclusion of what we have going for the Mitch Trubisky film. What are your kind of first impressions overall of what he looked like there?
He looked like a younger Josh. He looked like a younger Josh. So you see all the tools, you see the arm talent. You just have to put together the decision making. The footwork needs to be a little bit better. But yeah, and then I was going to ask you before we jump into to Scott's question real quick is what did you see? What did you see that would make him a better Matt Barkley? Like, why? What decision was that when they were going through that? How do you see that as an upgrade?
I think the biggest thing is just it's an overall upgrade in athleticism, and he's a little bit bigger. He's a little bit stronger. He can escape the pocket. We saw that he's able to scramble and he's able to get out. So that's something that I think is really big. And you can run those RPOs. We saw him run an RPO. I don't think Matt Barkley could run one if he tried. If he had to keep the ball, Matt Barkley's in big trouble. So I think it's just kind of the versatility and the ability to not change the play calling. And I think that was something that they mentioned when they said that they wanted to sign him. Was that we don't have to change our game plan if Josh goes down now because Mitch can run that same kind of a system. And that makes a lot of sense because then your wide receivers don't really have to change what they're doing. Your running backs, your linemen, everybody is just business as usual. And that way we can, that familiarity will help out a lot, I think.
Scott coming in saying, I'm not Jeff King, but want to show some love. Your analyst is fantastic. Well done. Hope this is a regular show. There it is. Giving you all the love, man.
Yeah, thank you very much, Scott. But yeah, not many people can be Jeff King. So don't feel bad about that. But yeah, thank you so much. We're gonna try and do this more often. This is something that, like I said, we're just trying to test out right now and see how it goes. But I'm having fun so far, and I appreciate all the love.
John coming in saying gives the added ability to get a first with his legs, which is something that you just talked talks about is his athletic ability, which is
yeah. And so I think that's the biggest thing is just the athleticism. I think is what they were really looking for, is just to upgrade there. But yeah, I think they're going to do well. Hopefully we never have to see Mitch Trubisky on the field. That's always the goal. But if we do have to see him, I'll feel pretty confident that we can at least, if he's in for 4 games, I'm pretty confident we could win at least 2 of them. And that's, I think, going 50-50 with your backup is not too bad. Whereas with Barkley, if he had to play a full game, I don't know if he can beat Miami's secondary like he did in the second half of that Week 17 game. I don't know if he can do that every week. So Hollister film, that would be interesting.
Yes, it would.
Yeah, maybe if we do another one of these.
With are y'all going to watch Hollister film? Not today, unfortunately. We're about to get into Emmanuel Sanders and then Dane Jackson right after that. But yeah, we need to put Hollister in our holsters.
Yeah, and Hollister might be a good one. Maybe if we do another one of these, we can throw a little bit of his film. I'm not sure even how much film he's got out at the moment. But we'll take a look at that. I've heard from other people that have watched him that he's physical, more of more athletic Lee Smith is kind of what I was getting, where he could be kind of a more blocker. And he's got a relationship with Josh, so that's always good news as well.
It's funny. This comment's funny, and then we can get on to Emmanuel Sanders. But I said Mitch looks like a younger Josh. Then it comes to find out that Josh Allen is 24 and Mitch is 27. So I would say mentally younger. Yes. Josh Allen, we'll put it like that.
Yeah, and mentally younger, and I think Josh Allen has just put in so much work in the offseason, like an inhuman amount. He's just so motivated to be able to do stuff like that.
Ooh, Scott coming in again. We appreciate you, Scott. Love to see you do an analyst on our O-line versus running back. What is the primary issue based on film review? This is actually funny because me and you sat down when we were going over O-line and talked about it for a little bit on draft picks.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, and O-line is fun to break down. Honestly, I think O-line is one of the more fun things to break down. I used to think it was really boring, but there's so many little intricacies with the line. And yeah, that's definitely sounds like something that would be fun. Maybe we can throw some clips together for that as well. Thank you for that suggestion, Scott. Thank you for the donation. But yeah, so moving on to our next guy here, Emmanuel Sanders. Great athlete, great route runner. What pops out when you were watching the film, what pops out the most to you?
Crisp and physical. So we have so many people on our team now. And I say so many people, but you've got Beasley and you've got Diggs, who are just very special route runners. It's funny that you mentioned, I don't know if the show had started yet, but you were talking about Emmanuel Sanders finding the zone and sitting on it. That's something that Cole Beasley does very, very, very well. Diggs as well. But having 3 receivers on the field that can find the soft spot in the zone, I mean, my goodness, Josh is going to have a heyday.
Absolutely. And you're basically begging teams to run man coverage against you with the players that you've got, because Cole Beasley, Stephon Diggs, and now Emmanuel Sanders, like you said, there have been these charts that people are putting on Twitter where there's 3 of the top rated guys against zone defense. And so you're really saying play man against us. And in situations like that, we know Diggs can beat man.
Yeah, I was about to say, go ahead.
Yeah, so it's like, you go ahead and choose what you want to do. We can beat you either way.
Rico coming in with a donation. It's just nice to see film room content on Buffalo Fanatics that we can all look forward to. Keep it up, fellas.
Thank you very much, Rico. Appreciate it.
Rico, Emmanuel Sanders' best friend, actually.
Yes,
so
yeah. The reason Emmanuel Sanders is in Buffalo
is because his best friend Rico.
His friend Rico. Yeah, so it's on Emmanuel Sanders. Let's go ahead and let's take a look at what he was showing on film. Let me get the banner changed up here and get that screen up. So let's take a look. We're going to talk about some of the things that pops out. A lot of the things, he's got a big catch radius. And so he can pretty much catch anything in the vicinity. He can scoop it up off the ground. He can go make a diving catch. His route running is crisp. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, what is Bean looking for? What is McDermott looking for in a wide receiver? Would you say, now that we have multiple ones on here that have a huge catch radius, that can find the soft spot in the zone, and that are crisp route runners, are those the things that Bean looks for in a wide receiver? And going into the draft, when we sit at home, we're doing mock drafts, or free agency is still going on, are those the things that we should look at if we're looking at bringing in another wide receiver?
Yeah, I definitely think they're all about route running and intelligence. And when you're running routes against a zone coverage, a lot of it's very intelligence based, and you have to be able to understand the coverage that they're playing, the zones that they're going to be in, and know where the soft spots are going to be in that zone. And then have the awareness to, when you're in a zone like that and you're in that soft spot, to recognize it, throttle down and sit in the zone there. And also, this is something that Eric from Cover One talks about, is the body language, where showing your quarterback that you're going to stop in the zone and where to put the ball when you're stopping in the zone, without actually telling him, without pointing or anything like that, just by your body language, showing where you're going to be. That's something that Diggs does really well. Beasley and now Sanders, all 3 of those guys are just so good at this. But yeah, I would say those are definitely kind of the 3 things where that really is, they've kind of shown that's what they go for. And then you've got Davis, who's your bigger guy, and he's used very creatively, as he's used as a blocker, and he's somehow a deep threat, even though I think he runs the slowest 40 out of all the receivers. But yeah, it's Dable is just so creative. I think he could probably take anyone that's athletic and stick him in a system and have him perform well. But let's jump in a little bit here. We got Sanders at the top of the screen. And this is he's sitting in the zone, first of all, is the first thing. He comes around, he sees this guy. He might not see him, but he knows that this guy's going to go out and cover the guy in the flat. So he kind of curls right around him, and then he's in the soft spot behind that to get the pass. And he scoops this one off the ground really well. It's actually a great catch, where he's, that ball is out and he's down to get it. And that's kind of the catch radius thing, where it's, if you put it in that area, he's going to be able to go down and get it. And then this is a similar thing here. This one is an out route. It's I showed something like this in the Twitter video I posted, but he's got the corner's hips facing inward, and so he's not going to change anything until he makes his cut, because that's what he wants, since this is a deep out route. So he just runs right up the numbers, gets that guy to think that he's going to be cutting inside, and then he just throttles down and cuts to the outside. And now he's wide open. I mean, it took so long for that corner to get to his hips turn around. By that time, he's just wide open here. And the pass is a little bit low again. But, once again, he's wide open. So just put it out there, and he can go and get the ball for you. And that's something that is so good to have. Another play where he's really kind of scooping that ball up off the ground. This is a play that I showed on Twitter. Did you see the video that I posted? Did you remember this play off of it?
No, not off the top of my head. So like I've lived a lifetime since you posted it on Twitter.
Yeah. But this is something I posted when the day of the signing, and this is probably my favorite play that I've ever watched from a wide receiver so far. One of my favorite plays, anyway. The way that he stops and changes direction is so good. And to see a pretty good corner in Jamel Dean, just get absolutely completely schooled on this play. I could watch this play for an hour straight. But yeah, so what he's doing here is he's faking the out route, and he's going to be cutting back outside. And the ability to stop and change direction so fast. I mean, look at just watch Jamel Dean for the play instead of watching. I mean, he's inside, he's falling backward, he's all over the place, and the way that he's able to fake this in route, it looks like he's running an in route right here. It's so impressive. And then he just comes to a completely throttled down full stop, and Jamel Dean has no chance. And then to go out and make a full extension catch after that too on the goal line. I think we get to see a little bit here. Yeah, the throttle down, and all his momentum's going forward. He's still sold on that in route. And then if you get a guy on his heels like that, it's just such a great route. And by the time he's there, he is just we got to watch from that angle again.
Yeah, embarrassed him.
Oh, it's so good having a guy like this where he can throttle down and get so low like that. You know, he's low to the ground. He's got a low center of gravity. And the change of direction, the Bills have 3 of those receivers now that can change direction like that. To make a full extension catch afterward, he's just such a good athlete. This is a play that's that breaking down. We saw Eric from Cover One do this play as well. What's the comment that we got here?
Oh, it's just Felipe.
Oh, right. Yeah, we can go back.
It even looks like he stumbles and still has that separation.
Yes,
he's so
absolutely.
twitchy at the point of attack. And by point of attack, at the top of his route, he's so twitchy that he can get in and he can get out. And that's essentially what he does. And he just puts the defender on skates.
Yeah.
Oh, it's such a beautiful play.
Yeah. And you know, you're right, Filippo. He really does stumble a little bit himself. He jukes so hard, he almost gets himself. He's able to keep his balance by keeping his center of gravity really low, gets nice and low, and that way he's able to make that cut back outside. Yeah, low man. Yeah, the low man always wins. So that is one of my favorite plays. It's just completely ridiculous that someone was able to do that to a pretty good corner in Jamel Dean there. So this is a play that Eric at Cover One talked about a little bit. And I'm going to talk about it briefly because he does a pretty good analysis on it. The way that he, first of all, at the beginning of the route here, does a little shimmy in the beginning, the duck walk here, and then the catch is really another thing where it's just kind of showing off his catch radius, where he's able to go out. The ball's not perfectly on target, but it's in the vicinity, and he can just go out and get it in a situation like that. Another full extension for the most part catch there. And let's go back here and look at that duck walk a little bit, because that's really good too. As it continues on through here. But yeah, this duck walk here at the beginning, where he's basically just trying to get this corner on his heels and get him to know he doesn't need to. He wants him to not know which direction he's going to go in. And so he does that little shimmy. And then when he makes his cut, he's got active hands working through the hands of the defensive back to get inside of him. And then it's just a great catch. And that's really something that, you know, again, having a guy where you can just put it in the gap between those two defenders and he can go get the ball. It's just such an asset. I think this is a contested catch here too, which is something that you wouldn't expect from a small guy like Sanders, but it's a really good play. He goes up and Brees kind of just puts a floater up. I'm not sure if this is an intentional back shoulder fade or what kind of throw this was supposed to be. But the way he tracks it and then comes back to it, the defensive back doesn't see the ball. So he's got that advantage where he can know where the ball is going to be before the defensive back does. So he decides to play it back shoulder, gets himself in front of the ball and uses himself as a shield to the defensive back. And then he goes up and makes the catch. That's something that Diggs does really well too, where he's not the biggest guy, but he knows how to use his body to kind of shield off defenders to make contested catches. And then let's keep moving right along here. I think we're at the point here where this is the section where I put in, it's just 5 plays in a row where he just sits so well in the zone. When you're watching his film, it feels like over and over and over again, you keep seeing plays where he catches the ball and there's like 5 guys like in the vicinity. Like he's completely surrounded by guys right here, but he's just found the soft spot in the zone, and it's on a deep in route. So he just goes in and says, "Yeah, that's where the soft spot in the zone is. I'm just going to hang out here," and then he comes through, and it's a nice easy pass. And then
So
again, yeah.
when we talk about finding the soft spot in the zone,
Mhm.
for the average fan, is that the route he's supposed to be running, or does he just be like, you know what? There's a hole right there. Let me go sit right here, and he has that connection with the quarterback, and the quarterback just makes the pass.
So there's definitely some situations where if it's a zone, you have the option to continue running or stop in the gap. And it just kind of depends. Yeah, like chemistry with your quarterback's really important for that. And, it was probably still a deep in route that he was supposed to be running there, but instead of kind of cutting hard and yeah, the zone option route, Ben James, thank you so much for that. Yeah. And so instead of kind of cutting across the field full speed, let me go back to the play. Instead of cutting across the field full speed at the cut here, first of all, he knows right now that it's zone because these 2 guys are dropping back. He's not covering him man to man, and that's the guy that was on top of him. So he knows right here that it's zone coverage. So once he recognizes that, instead of turning in and cutting hard and going full speed, he's able to round it a little bit and just kind of sit right in the soft spot behind this guy because he knows that he's got the underneath man where he's going to suck up the linebacker here. So he just kind of waits and then slowly kind of drifts into that open zone. Yes, yeah, he has an assigned route, but then you have an option sometimes, and there's even sometimes where in situations where they have option routes where either you go or you cut back depending on the leverage that the DB has on you. We saw, I think the touchdown to Stephon Diggs against the Colts was something that was an option route, that deep route to Diggs, where if he didn't have him beat, he could cut back. I can't remember if it was that play specifically, but I remember there was a mic'd up moment where that's what they were saying, or that's what Diggs was saying, talking about the option route. And that's the thing. So Diggs, having a guy like Diggs and a guy who's as smart as Josh, having those 2 guys together, you can run a ton of option routes. And that just makes it so easy to always have your wide receiver in the soft spot in the zone. So I think that that's something that Emmanuel Sanders is going to bring to the table as well. Cole Beasley already does that because he's also super smart. But yeah, let's just a few more plays of just him sitting in the soft spot.
Oof.
I mean, yeah, sure. Is it
wide open?
Yeah. Was he maybe supposed to drift inward? Is it maybe a deep in there too? It could be. But he knows where that soft spot is. Yeah, right there. I'm just going to hang out. And like I said, there's guys all around, but he's in this massive soft spot in the zone. Yeah, and I think the corner a little bit here. Oh no, that's the wrong guy. Yeah, he just sneaks past the linebacker and then sits in the soft spot. And once again, it's a good play design where you've always got someone pulling guys out of the zone. Yeah, and right on the money there.
I saw that comment from John that says, "Jesus, what are Josh Allen's numbers going to be like next season?" I mean, this is going to be it's going to be stupid, is what it's going to be. Absolutely. Yeah. And then Pierre's coming in and he's saying, Sanders reminds me of an older version of Diggs. I mean, he does 100%. As we're breaking down this film, we're looking at it. You could swap out the jersey and I'd be like, yep, that's Diggs doing all that. So it's wild to think that you're going to have Diggs, you're going to have Beasley, you're going to have Sanders, and then you're going to have Gabriel Davis doing Gabriel Davis things.
Yeah, and just the versatility of each of those guys too. Beasley can play pretty much. He's exclusively in the slot, but Davis can play inside. We've seen him do it sometimes where even they motion him in and he's there as a blocker, or he can run a route from the inside. And then we know Sanders can play the slot and he can play outside. We know Diggs can play anywhere you line him up. So there's so many options of even in a singular personnel group, in like a 10 personnel, you can have your 4 wide receivers and they could be lining up anywhere on the field pretty much, except you know Cole Beasley's going to be in the slot. That's the only thing that you know for sure. Anyone else can be lined up anywhere.
What do you think about this comment from the moment? Teams are going to have to play man against us. All right. So what's going to happen? We've seen how good Sanders is in zone and how he's getting open, sitting in the zone. We know this about Diggs. We know this about Beasley. What is it going to look like when they decide to play us in man-to-man?
Yeah, and the thing is too is all 3 of those guys can run against man as well. So I you better have good cover corners if you want to run man. But really, I think what teams are probably going to do is mix it up so much throughout the game and hope that the kind of unpredictability of what the play call is going to be, that's probably what they're going to have to rely on. Guys are going to have to get creative. And then, yeah, and, it's going to be really hard. They're going to have to get a lot of pressure, or it's not going to go well for them. If Josh has time to throw, and even he's one of the better guys under pressure as well because he knows where his hot reads are. It's going to be a nightmare for opposing defensive coordinators.
I just go back to that Tampa Bay film that we just showed. That's right there, man. He's twitchy. He gets separation. He's open. And it's a touchdown.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, in a situation like that, it's man coverage. He throttles down, makes a really good cut, basically a 180-degree turn, and makes a great catch for a touchdown. So it's gonna be a nightmare. I'm honestly just so excited to see it because Josh is just gonna have so many options on every play. And then another one. Let's see, where's he sitting? Right in the soft spot in the zone there. And it's just so impressive every time. He's got this guy who was covering this tight end, so he just slows down a little bit. Otherwise, he's running himself into coverage. So he slows down. He's in the coverage, in the middle of the coverage there. And then even the awareness, I think I put the other angle in here as well. With the awareness, too, as he's coming across, you'll see right here, he's coming into the screen now. So he knows this guy's covering this tight end, but it is still a zone. So he's got this linebacker here has this kind of pocket. It's the curl, the cross, but he's still in his zone. If the tight end leaves the zone, he's got to stay and let the deep corner take care of that. So right about there, the ball's already in the air, so he's cutting back and starting to stay on this. But watch when he catches the ball, he already knows where the defense is and starts to cut back to the other side because he knows that there's going to be guys over there. Without even seeing them, he knows that there's going to be guys on the other side of that zone. And again, sitting in the zone. I mean, the way he just kind of slowly drifts around the linebacker to fit himself in the zone. And I think it's Bree's third read. So he's being patient with it. It looks like he's looking over the middle first. He might have taken a glance at the deep shot. And then he comes back here and he's not really like out yet, but he knows where to put the ball in the soft spot in the zone. And Sanders is going to get there every time because that's just the kind of connection that they have. I think this is the last one here where he's yeah, it's a good route. It's a pretty good route too. I mean, this corner over here, he's covering this kind of curl to hook area, and he's got his eyes on the guy in the flat because that is technically his guy. You'd probably want the corner to be in a little bit more and cause a little bit of pressure from underneath, so that your guy over top doesn't have to worry about completely covering this guy. Yeah, the Tampa 2 there as well by John. And then the way he's able to just kind of sit there, he gets inside, he knows, he sees the linebacker in there, he sees these guys down here, just sit in the open area. It's so easy for him, and Diggs does this stuff too. So both of these guys, I still can't get over it. This is something else, just kind of at the tail end here that I want to talk about. And the Saints didn't really use him a lot in situations like this, but there are a few times where we saw him used creatively, and I think Diggs can run these. I think Sanders can run these. Maybe even Beasley has a couple of cool little things like this, but with the potential absence of Isaiah McKenzie, Dable's going to need a guy who he can do some gadget stuff with, some little more tricky things to do with. And this is just a little thing where he's kind of running. He runs behind the line of scrimmage from the opposite side of the field. I just think it's a cool little route concept where he's kind of sneaking. This is the guy that's supposed to be covering. I'm pretty sure it's man coverage here. I went back a little too far there, but yeah, it's man coverage here. We know that when this guy is running with the man here, so we know it's man coverage. And then where's that linebacker? This middle linebacker is the one who's supposed to. Oh, maybe I'm wrong. I think I am wrong about the coverage there. Don't listen to me. But yeah, so the way he just kind of sneaks underneath, whoever is supposed to be covering him, I actually think it's supposed to be the far corner here. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it is. He's way out of position.
Corner. Yeah, I was going to say that couldn't be the linebacker. But yeah, it's the far corner here who's supposed to be covering him. And in a man coverage situation, he's just sneaks right underneath the line, and obviously there's not going to be anyone there. And in man coverage, you're wide open in the flat there. It's just a really good play design. I would like to see. I don't know if Dable ran anything like that. I can't remember if he did or not. But it's a really good play design, and I'd like to see something like that. And it's nice to have little gadget plays like that where you can have a speedy guy kind of do a little something different. And then this we've seen a million times. This is the Isaiah McKenzie play. It's just a jet sweep. We've seen it all the time, and he gets 10 yards there. That you could have swapped out jerseys with Isaiah McKenzie there, and you would have no idea. But yeah, so that's just kind of something that adds an extra little wrinkle. I think he is pretty versatile. Yeah, and yeah, the whole age thing, he really does not play like his age. He plays so much younger than that.
He's twitchy, he's powerful, and he's fast still.
Absolutely, yeah. Sorry,
you're going at it, man. I know. Go ahead, take a water. Go ahead, take a water.
Yeah, a little bit of a water break. Everyone get a water break. Everybody, take a sip of water here.
While we're taking a water break, go ahead and look at it. We have 125, 23 people watching the stream right now. Go ahead, smash the like button. Let us know. Leave some comments. We're about to get into Dane Jackson. This one's going to be a very interesting one. Is he going to be cornerback number 2? Are we going to draft somebody there? Is Levi Wallace going to come in and be that cornerback number 2? I mean, we brought him back for a reason, or is he going to be depth? So this one's going to be a very interesting one that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what Dane Jackson brings because going back and watching what he's got and the stuff that he brings to the table, it's a lot of fun, honestly, to kind of see the potential that he flashes. Yeah, thank you, Damon. I've heard Josh Allen too. Maybe I look like a Josh Allen, Mitch Trubisky love child, but yeah, I think the Dane Jackson thing I think is going to be really interesting because there are flashes that he has where he looks really good, and I think he fits into a McDermott scheme so well, and I think that's why originally Bean and McDermott went out and got this guy in the 7th round.
So tell me what is a McDermott scheme? So yeah. when we say that, what are we talking about there?
Yeah, so when you're looking for specifically a cornerback in a McDermott scheme, you want a guy that can play zone coverage well. He can, and in doing so, if you're a good corner who can play good man coverage, you're able to cover a deep half if you need to, but you're also able to cover the flat. You can cover the hook to curl area. And one of the things that's important is you can always create pressure on a deep route while still being able to cover the underneath route. And I think that that's something that's really important to be able to do for corners in the system is, are you able to put pressure enough on the deep route so that he doesn't throw it, so that he has to take the check down, but you also can go cover that check down and make the tackle if need be. And we see that from Dane Jackson a little bit in the way that he plays a little bit. So I really do think that he's a very good scheme fit. He kind of reminds me physically of Levi Wallace. He's a little bit lanky. He's taller, but he's pretty good. And I would say maybe even the way he plays could end up looking a lot like Levi Wallace as well, because of they don't have elite quickness and closing speed, kind of like Trey has. Like Tre'Davious White has elite level quickness and closing speed, and that's what really sets him apart, I think. Because in those zone situations, you're playing an area and you have to react when the ball is thrown a lot of the time. Or, sometimes you're reading the quarterback and you know where the ball is going to be thrown, but you can't go there until he throws or he's not going to throw it. So in situations like that, having that elite closing speed and quickness gives you the ability to get to the ball faster, and therefore, you're breaking up the play. And I think that that's something that he might be able to do later on. But ultimately, I think he'll be at least a serviceable guy in the McDermott defense.
Do you see him as cornerback number 2 going into the season?
It's hard to say, and I think it's just because we haven't seen enough of him in order to say definitively. I like what he's shown. I still think he's probably going to go through some growing pains. And yes, John just said it in the comments. He can tackle well, and we see him tackle well sometimes. I've seen him miss tackles. Every guy's going to miss tackles every once in a while. But I do think he tackles better than Levi did coming out of college. I don't think Levi Wallace was much of a tackler coming out of college. But he learned and did eventually become a better tackler. But I think Dane Jackson already has that ability to tackle, and he tackles aggressively, which I think is something that I really like so much, is the aggressiveness in which he goes up for a tackle, which I think is why obviously McDermott and Bean are such big fans of him. I'm going to pull this one up real quick before we get into the film. Can the defensive line create pressure, or if they're forced to blitz again? then they will have to play man in that situation. Can't have a 4-6 guy playing man consistently. And so, is he? Do you think he's referring to their the opposing defensive line or our defensive line here?
R.
Okay, yeah.
I think he's talking about Levi.
Okay, yeah.
I would assume because I
see
think
what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's talking about Levi and his speed as a corner.
yeah.
And yes, yeah, it is hard to I don't really think either of these guys, Dane or Levi, is going to be great in man coverage. I think they can do it and they can do it okay. We've seen him play some man coverage, but yeah. Yeah, Levi and Dane is 4-6. Yeah. So they're not crazy athletic guys, but they're aggressive. They play smart, and they, at least what I've seen from Dane is he likes reading the quarterback's eyes, and he has pretty good vision when he's looking for things like that. So let's go ahead and let's pull this up here. All right, so since there's not that much Dane film, we're going to look at some of his stuff from college. And this is from 2019, actually. So this is a while ago. But the reason that I liked this game was because this is against Notre Dame in 2019. So he's going against two really good receivers. He's got Miles Boykin, which I think is the guy up here. And then Chase Claypool is the other one. So he's going against guys that are in the NFL, playing well at the NFL level. And those are two of the guys that he's going to be covering throughout this game. But let's look at some of his aggressiveness in run stopping and his tackling ability a little bit first here. So he's up at the top of the screen on Boykin right now. It's a zone coverage scheme, and you can see that right away. He does a little bit of hand play before he lets his guy go over top, and then from there he's watching the quarterback, and his job is to pretty much create that pressure of you've got to throw it over me if you're going to get him, but also being able to come back up if this guy goes into the flat or something like that. That's going to be his responsibility and his assignment here. But since he's already got his eyes on the quarterback so fast, he instantly sees that this is a quarterback draw play. And he actually does a really good job of attacking and coming up fast, makes a really aggressive tackle, and he gets the ball out too, which I really like. And he covers a lot of ground here. It covers about 8 yards to get up to him in a good amount of time before the QB can really even get past the line of scrimmage. And then, yeah, the aggressiveness to go in, attack the football, gets a nice tackle, the ball's out. I don't really think you could ask for much more in a play from a corner in a McDermott system, is make an aggressive tackle and get the ball out.
This play, I love this play.
Play here,
the awareness.
Yes, yeah. This play, it is a really good play. So we got Dane Jackson up at the top here, and motion across. So we're in a zone defense. So when this motion comes across, he's like, yeah, I don't have to worry about my guy anymore. There's really one guy kind of in the area that is a big threat to him. I suppose there's two. You could say one of these running backs could come out to the flat over here, but really it's kind of Chase Claypool is now really the only guy that I need to worry about in my zone back here. So what he's going to do is he's going to keep his eyes on the quarterback, but with Chase Claypool in his vision as well. So right at the snap here, he's dropping back, taking his regular steps, sees Claypool, sees the quarterback, and right here, he knows what play it is already, which is so cool. He understands already that this is a screen pass. He knows that this running back's going to come out. He sees where the quarterback's looking. He's already looking at that area. And he also sees that Claypool's going for a block inside. So all those things are just clues to him that this is a screen pass, and the speed that he goes in. It's such a great play. The speed that he's able to go in and make this tackle, and just the processing of information that all happens so fast. I want to slow this down a little bit. He's back here. The running back is not even in the flat yet, and his foot is planted, and he's starting to make
already
his
going
run up already. And then the speed to go up to get in front of that lineman, and a really good aggressive tackle down around the knees, wraps him up. That's just a really, really good play. The instincts on that play to be able to come up and make a play like that, and just the reaction time. Such good aggressiveness. That's a play where McDermott sees this play and he's drooling. When he sees a corner come up and tackle like that. And I know that there's people in the chat here who have been talking about his tackling. There are times where he'll make a tackle and it's like, wow, that was perfect form tackle, aggressive, gets down to the knees and takes him down. And then, hips are turned. Yeah. And just the the overall athleticism is really just crazy. Ah, such a good play. I can't get enough of it.
Yeah.
But anyway, moving on to this next play here. This is something that he's going to be asked to do. We haven't seen much of it from Levi, but the corners in this defense are going to blitz. And so that's something that he does here. He's it's kind of a fake press coverage, and he's going to come in on a blitz on this one. And he does a pretty good job, really. I mean, the quarterback doesn't have much to go to, but he does a good job. Gets in fast, closes him in. He doesn't give him the opportunity to escape, doesn't let him climb the pocket, and just kind of, collapses on him. And you can see here, he knows he's got to get rid of it soon. Credit to this linebacker playing his zone pretty well. He wants to go to his outlet, and he just has no one to go to. Still gets the ball away, but good aggressiveness there on that blitz, and that's something that we have seen. We have seen Levi do it here and there. He had a sack against Lamar Jackson in the playoffs, but I think that's something that we'll probably see him do once or twice at least. This play is I'm pretty sure this is an incompletion, or the ball doesn't even go his way. But I really like the play because I think this is Chase Claypool, which means that's Miles Boykin. I think not positive on that, but it's really good coverage in the red zone, and I think that's something we saw it in the NFL, and we're going to take a look at it later as well. But I think the coverage is really good here, and just the physicality. And I'm gonna slow it down so we can watch it slow here. Just at the top of the screen here, he's released to the outside. He's got him pressed to the outside now. Now he's got him and the sideline. The wide receiver sandwiched between those two things. Now he's got him and he's got his friend the sideline over there on the other side, and then engages with hands. As soon as that wide receiver starts to turn and look back, he's got hands on him. And then look at him now. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that, where he's completely locked up. They're both looking back at the ball together, and there's just no way that the quarterback is ever gonna take that throw. And let's see if we can watch it in full speed here now.
Oh, and he wanted to. Book wanted to take that throw.
Right,
he wanted to. Saw that he was using the sideline, pushing him up against the sideline. He had his eyes back to the quarterback. He was doing everything correct, and a Book couldn't take the throw. He had to pull it down. He had to move off.
Yeah, and we can see the eyes here. The helmet never turns off of him until he realizes it's not there. And just the physicality is really good to get up there, get in his face, and get physical. Just a great play. Completely locks him up there. Let's see here. I think this is the big play. So this is man coverage here. I'm fairly certain. And he gets called for a penalty here, but I still really like this play because he's one-on-one with a good wide receiver in Chase Claypool, a good NFL wide receiver in Chase Claypool, and he plays the ball so well on him. And at first I didn't think it was a penalty, but you can see from this angle here, he gets his hand on the arm just a little bit, the one way to correct this play would have been completely perfect, in my opinion, if he took this hand here and just slid it down to the hip or to even right under the arm. And in that situation, you've still got your hand on him. You know that he's there still. And if he does end up making the catch, you're still there to make the tackle. But you won't get called for that pass interference because you're not holding his arm back. So if he had his hand a little bit lower, I think it would have been a perfect play. Even still, when he goes up and not playing for me. When he goes up and makes a great aggressive play on the ball here, he swats it away. And it was honestly really good defense. It's kind of a shame that he had to grab the arm. And I think that was just kind of an in the moment thing. He's watching the ball the whole way. Both of these guys just tracking the ball, really good ball skills there. And the tightness of the coverage too. I mean, let's go take a look at the original play. He's on him. He's right there with him all the way down the field. And like we said, he's not a super fast guy, but the ability to be able to stay with him.
I love this question from Pierre. He says, why do you think Dane was drafted so late? Looks like he could be a gem. Do you think it has anything to do with him playing at Pitt? What do you think it was?
It's hard to say. I mean, there were some times where he missed a tackle here and there. But really, I think the thing is probably just his physical attributes.
Was it speed?
Yeah, it might have been speed. He doesn't have amazing lateral quickness, kind of like we said before. But it really is hard to say. And maybe just no one really noticed him that much. And that could have been because he fits so well in a McDermott scheme that watching the plays, it's like I feel like I'm watching McDermott's defense. So maybe the familiarity with the things that he has to do, that was just something that they noticed. But he wasn't really ever, going to beat you with speed or with quickness or anything like that. But he's just plays solid, and I think the ability to play zone and come up and tackle, that's probably the biggest thing that McDermott saw. But really, I don't know why he dropped so far. I think it had to have been athleticism. I can't imagine anything else, to be honest.
You always remember the tape is the tape is the tape.
Yes, yeah. So, yeah, and it's hard to see beyond that. And there were a lot of plays. We're only showing you the highlights here. These are some of the good plays where we're watching through, and it's like that was a good play. Let's talk about that one. There are plays where he gets beat in coverage. He'll miss a tackle here or there. There were times when he wasn't as aggressive in the run when I'd like to see him coming up a little bit harder. But every guy's going to do that. It's just about how often is it going to happen. So I think as long as he keeps the missed tackles to a minimum. We even saw him miss one or two in the few games that he played in the NFL so far. But if he keeps it to a minimum, I still think he's going to be a good corner. I think this is a man coverage play here.
Yeah, so this is interesting because you're playing against Clemson, so you're playing against a really big school, and to watch this play kind of unfold, it really gets you excited.
Yeah, and you're playing against a top tier quarterback who's probably going to be the number 1 overall pick this season.
I'd put money on it.
Yeah, and he's probably going to play pretty well in the NFL. We're all expecting him to anyway. And yeah, he's covering. They have some of the best wide receivers, and I really hate that we can't see the whole play. But we're going to take it back as far as we can and watch as much as we can of it. And I'm going to see if I can put it in slow-mo here. So when he on the snap, he releases with his hips inside. I'm not sure if he's playing. I don't think he's playing zone here. It's hard to tell. He might be because the linebackers are. So he might be playing that zone and trying to keep his guy, to the sideline. But I think that's something that's interesting is when we watch the play, his hips are turned to the inside. And then the next time we see him, it's not that long after that the ball is thrown and he's turned around. So I'm really sad that we're not able to get the all 22 film because he probably had really fast hips here to be able to get around. And he goes up and the ball skills again. He's a little late, but he gets his hand up right on the ball. Really good defense, great hands there. But yeah, I think that's, like I said, it's kind of sad that we can't see the whole thing. But the time between the throw and him having his hips facing the wrong direction, it had to have been a pretty athletic play to be able to get over and make that.
The reaction time to notice that and then immediately jump back is something that that's McDermott's scheme again.
Exactly, yeah, and and someone said catch up speed. Yes, that was a one where it's the closing speed was really good, and I'm sure his hips were flying around on a play like that, but that was really good closing speed and really good ability to attack the ball aggressively. And then here we've got another man coverage here, and he's going against a guy that's a lot bigger than him. And his ability to, even though he's not that big, he's a smaller guy as far as, bulkiness. But he's very aggressive in man coverage. He's going against a tight end here. And the way that he is physical with him, he gets his hands on him. And as soon as his guy's looking back for the ball, he's looking back for the ball too. He's going to do that at the same time. So he stays in, he's physical, pinches him to the sideline, gets physical, looks back, and then goes up and makes play on the ball. It's as simple as that, really. And it's a good play from him. Could have been a better bat away. I think he reacted a little bit late. He still almost made a nice catch there. But it's a good play. So now let's look and see how that translated to the NFL and see how he did. Once he got into the big leagues, once he's in Sean McDermott's system, how did those skills apply? And so on this one, this is a run fill, I believe, over to his side. So first he's just reading and he comes up quick. I mean, he slows down a little bit to make sure that he hits the hole properly. But the time he takes to read the play and get out there, and then once he's there, he's aggressive and he fills that hole and makes a good tackle here. So he's over. He sees how the line is swinging over that way. And the aggressiveness to go in, he fills the hole like a linebacker here, essentially. And he's almost playing almost playing a safety position because there's no one really to cover out on the outside. But yeah, to fill the hole, he goes down, attacks below the waist, makes a good tackle there. And yeah, it's just a nice aggressive play for him to be able to go up and kind of fill that gap on the run. And
The
that's something
vision to sift through everything and immediately
right.
get to the ball carrier is
Right. And I want to see if I can get it back far enough here to kind of show the way when he does break down, it's really good. So he's going to be right here on the screen. So he's come up and now he knows that this is the hole. This lineman here, I think that's Becton. He's turning his shoulders to pinch him inside, and then he's got another guy pulling coming through here. So he's got to worry about him as well. But yeah, he knows that this is where the hole is going to be. That guy's going out. That guy's going in. So he kind of sits and look at the shuffle. He kind of shuffles and then makes sure he's in the right spot before he makes that tackle. I'm in fast motion now. I think this is another play where he kind of comes up and makes a good tackle. This one, he's playing zone coverage, and that's a big dude that he's tackling.
oh
Is
yeah.
that Dan Arnold?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Yeah, so it's a big dude that he's coming up and tackling. Goes nice and low on him, exactly what you're supposed to do on those big guys. But yeah, I mean, you've got 3 guys covering Christian Kirk over there, and so so recognizes the throw, turns his hips, gets downfield, makes a good tackle.
If he doesn't make that tackle, what is that? That's turning into a huge gain.
If AJ Klein can't make the tackle either, which who would?
I mean, look at it. If Dane's not there, if he doesn't react well enough to come down and hit him,
right?
I mean, he's gone. I mean, that's open.
Yeah, and even still, I mean, it's not a lot of yards that he's giving up. I think they get maybe from the line of scrimmage. Looks like they're maybe getting 4 or 5 yards there.
Yeah.
So to be able to come up in front of the sticks and make the tackle and stop him before the first down marker, that's pretty big as well.
Go ahead, give us a thumbs up if you're a fan of these breakdowns.
Okay. Let's see here. Another run fill. This is against the last game of the season. I really like this one. It's a similar situation as that clip in the Jets. He's almost playing a safety position at this point because he's so far back. I believe that's Taron Johnson up there in that slot corner position. But he's essentially playing a safety right now. And for a guy his size, that's, it's kind of a tall task. So
this is a beautiful play.
Yeah, the recognition, I think, is what I like so much about it, is how fast he recognizes. He is up so fast from when this play starts, from when the ball is snapped. So the ball is snapped right here, and instantly he sees that this guy's going for a block. That's the first thing he notices. So he runs up to that line of scrimmage really fast, and he almost overcommits to the inside.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be the last man out in this situation. He almost overcommits to the inside, realizes that he needs to get outside and cover that as the running back also bounces outside. And a nice aggressive tackle again, goes down below the hips and wraps him up. Almost gets a safety. It was a really good play. I was a big fan of this one, and that aggressiveness and that reaction time to be able to come down and make the play.
This is a good angle to see what's going on and how he almost overcommits to the middle and then is able to flip back out and make that tap.
Yeah. You really see it there. He almost juts inside there, and then a nice little bounce outside as the running back does as well. And then the tackle, really good stuff there. Okay, I think are we getting into pass stuff now? I think yes. This plays exactly what I was talking about in the whole translation on that very first play that we watched, where he let the wide receiver go past him and he's keeping pressure on the guy behind him with being able to make sure that he's covering the front as well. That's what happens here on this play. He's covering this guy in the end zone because in a red zone situation, you cover the end zone first. So, and the thing is too, is he's got his back facing backward, which I'm not a huge fan of, but I mean, if the ball is thrown to this guy, he's in a great position to make that play. So this guy's wide open. Darnold's in a little bit of trouble down here with Mario Addison, I think, but his ability to break down here, and now he's still covering this guy in the end zone. But then once the ball is thrown, he makes a break for it and gets the ball out. Really aggressive play where he's playing the middle. He's playing the guy in the end zone more closely than he's playing the guy that he makes the play on.
To be able to flip your hips and immediately close in on that and make the play, because what happens if he doesn't get that and they catch that ball? I mean, what are 3 yards from the end zone at that point?
And a first down. It's third down, by the way, and the first down marker's right here, and this is on a third down as well. So this is a really big play to be able to stop no matter what. And he does kind of hesitate halfway through. I don't think he knew where he was going to go with the ball when he starts to turn his shoulders, which is good because you don't want to give up that big play. He doesn't know that the guy's vacated from behind him anymore. But yeah, and then once he decides to go, the closing speed actually was pretty good on this play. So yeah, it's good stuff, and the ability to once again cover the guy in the end zone, make him throw short, and then also go make the play on the guy that he throws short to.
So we're talking a lot about closing speed. We got John coming in saying closing speed. We got Mr. Diggs saying that's not speed, that's quickness. When looking at the draft, right, because we're talking about cornerback, who's going to be cornerback number 2? Does 40 times really matter? Because I think it's been brought up a couple times about 4.6. What are we looking at here? Because if they do like lateral quickness, and that's really what you're looking at when you see a cornerback in a zone, because you want them to be able to react really quickly, get back to the ball, and all that good stuff. So does it really matter about their 40 time if they're running a 4.2 that so many cornerbacks have been running this year? That doesn't matter to you?
No, I don't think it's as important, especially in a zone scheme. It's nice if you're fast. That's definitely a bonus. But your acceleration is probably a bigger, something that's more important, especially in this system where you're going to have help over top most of the time. So you don't have to worry about getting beat over the top. You let the safeties worry about that. And then you just play underneath and make him have a tough throw. If he does want to go to that deep route, make sure you're underneath and making a play on it there. So yeah, I think that definitely the speed isn't as important as the quickness. And then let's see. I don't remember what play this is, so we're all gonna watch this for the first time together, basically.
This is a good one. This is a really good one.
This is good. It's not a great throw, but it's kind of the whole thing we were talking about really with Emmanuel Sanders is his ability to sit in the zone. And so I think they're running man on the outside. It's hard to tell because it looks like Trey's kind of in press coverage down there. So I'm not sure if they're running man on the outside zone in the middle or if they're just running a straight zone scheme. But the way that he reacts here, my guess is that they're running a zone. And so the way that he reacts when he sees that this guy is going to come down and hook right around this defender, he makes a break on it. And it would have been the throw was, if it was anywhere else, it could have been an interception, really, because of the closing speed and how he didn't allow really any space for him to throw the ball. It would have been pretty ugly otherwise. But yeah, it's
a terrible throw by Sam.
Really bad throw. I mean, he's in a lot of trouble.
Hit,
I don't know who that is, but I'm really happy with him driving the lineman back like that. But yeah, not a great throw, but it's the ability to stop a guy like that in the end zone.
This is a really good play.
We all should remember this play. This is something where the craziest thing to me is this is a rookie corner. I think this is his second start, the second time he's getting playing time in a game. And he's at the 5-yard line in man coverage against DeAndre Hopkins. So just the mental aspect of that, of being a rookie in a situation like that, when you know that it's probably going to be an end zone fade and I have to cover this up, we're going to see exactly what we saw him do in college. And that's be physical, get in his face, and attack the ball when he attacks the ball. And it was a really, really impressive play, and I'm sure we all remember it. But he has no breathing room. I don't think DeAndre Hopkins is calling for a higher pass. I don't think there's any placement that pass could have been that would have allowed him to make a play, because Dane is just all over him. Let's go back and watch.
It's so sticky.
Slow-mo here. Yeah,
so sticky. He doesn't let him breathe. He does not let Hopkins. Yeah. He doesn't give him an inch.
And they're both watching the ball together, which I'm also a big fan of. When DeAndre Hopkins turns his head to look at the ball, Dane Jackson does the same thing. He's mirroring the guy that he's with. He's going to back up. They're getting handsy with each other, both looking for the ball now. And now that it's up in the air, he goes up and gets a hand on it. There was no way he was going to get anything there. And they're not going to call that either.
No,
because both of these guys are just kind of hand fighting with each other. But yeah, the ball skills, the aggression, the ability to be physical with a guy like that in that situation, that takes balls, honestly. So it was really awesome to see that kind of a play from a young player like that. This is another one where the ball skills kind of come into play again. And I'm in fast motion here. it looks like he caught it at first, but this is actually a really good defensive play. Dane Jackson comes through with the hammer pretty much, and over the middle, his guy's going to break inward, so he's going to run with him, and he's behind here. First of all, closing speed, quickness, pretty good on this play. But by the time the ball gets there, he arrives at the exact same time, so it's great timing with it as well, and pretty good angle from over here as well. Just knocks the ball out. It's really good. And then this is the best angle, slow motion, comes through. As soon as the ball arrives, he gets his hands in there and he breaks up that pass. That's really good. And just aggressive play. Get your hands in there, punch that ball out.
The peanut punch.
Yeah, exactly. And that the timing, I think, is the most important thing on those, because if you wait too long, the guy's going to have it tucked away.
Yeah.
If you go too early, you're going to get a pass interference. So he timed it up perfectly. As soon as the ball got there, he's there punching it out. This is the last play. This is, from the last game of the season. He really didn't get that many reps, but I think this is a good show of his athleticism a little bit. He's dropping back into his zone, hips facing inward, and he stutters for a little bit here because he thinks that it's going to be a comeback route, but then he has the awareness to speed back up, and he goes up and makes a pretty good defensive play. I mean, he doesn't get a huge piece of it or anything like that, but it's a pretty good play. And, kind of coming from a little bit of a stutter like that, and then to regroup and then get up, catch up to the wide receiver and make a play. And he didn't really see the ball at any point there. So, pretty impressive to be able to do that. And that's pretty much all we have as far as total footage on Dane Jackson here. But I'm excited to see more coming in, honestly.
So I'm going to make a decision, right? Clay, I want you to make a decision. And then I want the guys in the comments, I want y'all to start making a decision. Do y'all see Dane Jackson being cornerback number 2 by the time we start the season? Do you think he's going to be CB2? So go ahead, write your comments down there in the comment section. I'm going to go ahead and say I think he is. I think he's going to come in. He's going to be CB number 2. We move Levi back, right? They didn't overpay for Levi. They brought him back, which is awesome. But I think Dane Jackson, his ceiling is just so much higher than that of Levi.
Yeah. I'm going to say no.
Okay.
That's just because I don't think we've seen enough of him. And there's still a lot of question marks in the offseason about how much preparation the team is going to get together as a unit. And so I'm going to say no. And I just think that's because he needs a little bit more experience. And I will say, I think by week 4, he'll be basically splitting 50-50, I think, by at the very latest week 4. I think they're going to get subbed in and out and get a decent amount of reps, the both of them. But I wouldn't be surprised if at some point in the season he takes over as the guy that's getting the majority of the snaps over Levi, if he starts to play like we think that he can play and what he's shown, if he can do it. I wouldn't be surprised at all. I definitely think he has the ability. He's got the intelligence, and I think he's, he didn't, whatever reason he fell, if it's the lateral quickness, if it's the drills, if it's the 40, he still has decent closing speed in certain situations. And we saw that. I think one of my biggest things is his red zone defense is so impressive where, if he can continue to work on that and continue to get better at that and consistent with that, I think he's probably the guy you want to put on your red zone fade target because he's taller than Trey. He's longer than Trey. And I think he can be more aggressive. And I don't really think that that Tre'Davious is as good in that type of a situation where he's matching up against a bigger guy in a fade situation like that. I think Dane might end up kind of being the guy that you put on the number 1 there.
Yes, that was just his highlights. Yeah, we didn't show any of the lowlights, the negative plays, or anything like that.
Yeah,
and it's funny because all the comments they're split. They're split just like us on the show. They're split on whether or not he'd be cornerback number 2 going into this season.
Right. But yeah, so we didn't put any of the negative plays in, and that was just because going from college and then back into the pros, really there weren't too many negative plays in the pros. He gives up a catch here and there. I think he got beat by Parker there on the Dolphins at one point. It was a pretty good route, and it's tough to beat him there. But really, all of his losses were kind of just like you can't win them all type of a loss, where the wide receiver makes a good route, or he's just not there quick enough, maybe. And there's a few missed tackles as well from the NFL. So there's definitely some some hit or miss a little bit. And if you have the ability to go watch, I would say go watch yourself and take a look at it and see those negatives. And I mean, for me, we've kind of seen both of them, the positive and the negative, and I think the positive outweighs the negative, at least in my opinion. So it all just kind of depends on if he can step in and take those targets, because he's going to get targeted if he's opposite Trey. So does Trey has a larger wingspan than Dane? I'm surprised by that, honestly. But yeah, I think Dane's going to be pretty going to be a pretty good player eventually. I think he's going to develop pretty well.
Alrighty.
Yeah, I mean, first of all,
how was that for a trial run?
Yeah, that was. It took a little bit longer. The timing was the thing I was worried about most. So thank you for those who are still sticking around. We still got 108 people, 800. But we still got 108 people in here. So thank you for those of you who stuck around for the whole time here. Mr. Diggs, I do want to bring that up because that was something I thought about earlier. Dane Jackson is going against a lot of really good wide receivers in practice, and he's going to be going against these guys that are elite. So going against Diggs, going against Sanders, that's going to make him so much better as a player. There was even some film that I don't think I included any of it, but there's film of him going against Gabe Davis in college, and that was a fun matchup to watch. And he's, now he gets to go against him in practice every week. But it's going to make him so much better. It's going to prepare him for those other guys like DeAndre Hopkins and those guys that are true number one wide receivers. So and even Levi Wallace had the opportunity to do that as well. But kind of the ability for Dane to kind of come in younger, more moldable. I think he's going to be. I think he's going to really benefit from that. They're the same height too. That's so. I would never have guessed that they're the same height and have the same wingspan. If we're being completely honest, Dane looks a lot taller and he looks longer. That is pretty interesting. Because Trey does a good job of playing guys physical like that too, and he's shut guys down in the corner before. But yeah, I think Dane's got the ability to. I don't think he's going to be a superstar, but I think he's going to be a pretty decent player in the NFL. But yeah, I mean, thank you guys. Thank you everyone. All those who donated, Scott, Jeff. I'm not sure. I know Jeff had to leave early, but thank you to everyone who came and watched and contributed in the chat. And this was a lot of fun. I think this is something that we're going to try to do more and get these going. And hopefully we can carry that right into the season. And then on a week by week basis, we'll see if we can talk some film in between there. But thank you all for joining. Thank you to Casey for dealing with me and all the film that I throw his way and tell him to watch. I appreciate that.
At the last minute. Hey man, what are you doing? Yeah. You wanna watch this real quick?
Yeah. Hey, I think I'm gonna throw Mitch and Sanders into this as well. Can you watch this film really quick for me?
Sure.
But yeah, so thank you guys so much. I appreciate all the love. I appreciate the support. If you don't follow me yet on Twitter, follow me. I'm over here at Clay Troya. And then Casey, where can they find you and what are you doing?
You can find me on Twitter at CashOutBF. There's a BF behind it. But you can find me on Twitter, and then of course, I'm on Nap Knows Buffalo, but he doesn't really need a plug, so we can just leave that at that.
Yeah, and Nap doesn't need any views.
He doesn't need anything.
Yeah, once again, thank you all very much for coming aboard, and go Bills.
Go Bills.